So you're trying to apply to cons and you see separate apps for Artist Alley and Exhibitor Hall. What's the difference and which one should you apply for? Hi, I'm Macy and I'm the artist and designer behind Mualcaina, a small business focused on kawaii merch. Having done 23 events now over the past year, I may still be new for some standards, however, I thought I'd share my experience with events post-2020. So Artist Alley versus Exhibitor Hall. Artist Alley is typically suited for those who draw or create their own work, essentially artists. However, that doesn't mean artists can't be in exhibitors, however, I will come back to that. Usually this area is cheaper than exhibitor space. For example, Artist Alley at Anime Expo was about $550 versus exhibitors, which is much higher than $1,000. Fan art is usually allowed unless the con explicitly states that it isn't, as long as you drew it and it's not traced from official work. I just wouldn't include official logos or titles by name. For example, I refer to One Piece as Anime Pirates. Artist Alley tables are typically 6 feet, however, if you're lucky, you may receive an 8-foot table. And besides the table, they tend to provide 2 chairs. If a 6-foot table is too big, I would consider splitting it with another artist, so you each get 3 feet of selling space, again if the con allows it. If you want some video examples of Artist Alley spaces, you can watch this playlist with my Artist Alley vlogs. So vendor/exhibitor hall. From here on out, I'm just going to use vendor and exhibitor hall interchangeably. So the vendor hall is typically larger than Artist Alley. Typically, they'll give you a 10 by 10 space, or you have the option to purchase more space, such as multiple booths to create a 10 by 20 space and so on. Some bigger artists and vendors tend to do this. It's also understood that it's usually for dealers, such as people who resell official licensed merch, think anime figures and Pokemon plushies. While fan art is sometimes allowed within this hall for smaller shows, it usually is frowned upon for larger events. I have seen a lot of vendors who sell amazing fan art in Exhibitor Hall, so you're just running the risk if you don't license it. As mentioned, you can get away with this depending on the event. Big shows like Anime Expo that have big studio network booths such as Crunchyroll, Shonen Jump, Viz Media will most likely have lawyers walking around issuing IP warnings, and I did hear that this did happen to some artists, just not me personally. I did see fan art in the Anime Expo vendor hall, so again, it is up to you. I just would not feel comfortable risking it. Again, pricing is more expensive for the vendor hall because you are given more space. Sometimes they provide at least 1 table and 2 chairs, and you also have the opportunity to bring your own tables and chairs if needed. Plus, if you need more equipment but just don't have it on hand, you can rent it out for a fee. I will say being in exhibitors doesn't necessarily mean you will make more money than being in Artist Alley. Attendees do come into Artist Alley expecting fan-made work, and Exhibitor Hall for licensed official merch. So unless you have a following where you can better direct people where to find you, I would not expect people to just wander into your booth for your art. I did hear that Artist Alley did a lot better at Anime Expo Chibi versus exhibitors, while some events may be vice versa. Just know that higher table cost does not necessarily mean you will make more money. Let's talk about their hall locations. Some events have their Exhibitor Hall and Artist Alley within the same hall. One example is Anime Pasadena and Anime LA. Usually there's an aisle dividing the 2 areas just to separate the 2. On the other hand, some cons will have them in separate hallways. Think Anime Expo, Fanime, even AX Chibi had Artist Alley within an outdoor tent. Now this can affect customer traffic depending on where the halls are located, but you wouldn't know how well you can do unless you've been a vendor there or you've gone as an attendee. Let's quickly talk about the app process, and it usually is different between Artist Alley and exhibitors. This process does depend on the event, but here's a list of some common processes. For Artist Alley, you are subject to reapplying every year. While some cons may prioritize returning artists like Anime Expo, Anime Impulse, typically each year is a clean slate, and your odds are pretty much the same every year. However, depending on the type of app, whether that's jury, first come first serve, and so on, you can get in one year but not the other. For exhibitors, typically you can reapply during the event. For example, if you're currently vending at LA Comic Con in 2023, you can, during that event, pay for an exhibitor spot for Comic Con 2024. Some Artist Alleys do this, like Kawaii Con, but it's not common. What's great about this is that it does allow for some stability, knowing that you're locked in for that event the following year. So what should you choose? If you're a new artist, go with Artist Alley. It's more affordable, especially if you're just starting out, and it's enough space for you to display all of your products. If you have too much product and you can't bear to not bring all of it, Consider buying 2 tables if the event allows it. If it's not enough, then I would go for a vendor spot. I personally will always go for artist alley since it is more affordable and I have enough product to just fit within a 6-foot or 8-foot table. However, I am at a point where sometimes I may need 2 tables, but not necessarily a vendor spot depending on the event. If you do have enough product to fit a 10 by 10 space and you applied for artist alley but didn't get in, you can still look into applying for vendor hall. Hopefully this helped you get a better understanding on the difference between artist alley and vendor hall. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos on managing a small business, artist alley vlogs, and manufacturing. Please give this video a big thumbs up and watch this anime impulse vlog to see more examples of the artist alley area. See you in the next video!